Hello there, one and all, and thank you very much for tuning in to episode 481 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, live on YouTube as always. Regardless of whether you're watching the live or you're watching the recording, you are very, very welcome. We have several comments already, a lot of you waiting patiently. First one goes to Big Miss Cabbage, who says, says hello. Hello to you as well. Waiting for my travel size of Orange Sirocco. Excited to hear your thoughts. That is, of course, a reference to the brand new scent from Les Indemodables that we will be sniffing in due course today. But there are lots of other people here too. Boot says morning. Alex says hello from Stormy Graz in Austria today. I'm wearing Vacances by Patou. I remember that one very, very well. I seem to remember being a bit of a fan of that one. Dave NYC says, popping some popcorn for Mr. Persolaise's review of the Louis Vuitton. Okay, well, don't start popping your popcorns before they're hatched or something. Loads of you here already. Blue says, this is my first live. You're very, very welcome. Hello from Pennsylvania, USA. Alex also says, Sunday with Persolaise, what a treat. NEAs is here too. Konstantin says, wow, so many people already online. That is precisely what I was thinking. Must be a good time. And Konstantin also says that you're holding this book in your hands as you wait for the live to begin. That's wonderful. It's so great to know that that book still exists somewhere. Rachel is here too, saying hello from the Chicago NASCAR races. Oh, okay. I think we can hear them. Right, we need to get a move on. Wow, there seriously are a lot of you. I guess is it a slow news Sunday or whatever the expression might be in relation to a YouTube video? Angela says, interested in your opinion of the Arquiste. Hi from New York. Well, you will find out about my thoughts on the new Arquiste very, very soon. So what are we doing? We're doing today a single video in which we will hopefully cover 5 new and newish releases. So we'll do all of them under the banner of a single video. I thought that might be a little bit more fun for today. As I've already said in the last few weeks, I am going to try and do as many videos as possible, although there are not many opportunities left to do lots of videos actually before the channel goes on its summer break. I will absolutely try to do some a week today. So what's that going to be? That's going to be Sunday the 14th of July, and maybe try to squeeze in possibly one other day somewhere else, but then that's pretty much going to be it. Okay, I think we need to get going. As I say, 5 to go, and we may as well start, I suppose, with the most high-profile one, although is it the second most high-profile one? I don't know. This is brand new from Louis Vuitton. I've got a lab sample here. I mean, no point showing that off because one lab sample pretty much looks like most others. And they're calling this, I think we're supposed to call it Lovers, even though on their press release, they've got one of those annoying typeface things that, give copy editors and newspaper editors and magazine editors nightmares, because they've sort of taken the LV logo and then connected it with a thing that could look like a stylized O and the words VERS to kind of make you think that it's meant to mean lovers, but I think we're just going to go with lovers. And this has been made obviously by the perfumer Jacques Cavalier, as are all current Louis Vuitton perfumes, because he is the in-house perfumer, but it's under the kind of creative direction of none other than Pharrell Williams, which is, I suppose, a little bit surprising. We have got pre-sprayed blotters of all of these so that we can pass some sort of a comment on how they develop over time. But here we go. David says it's annoying even because of the name. What this thing? I know it's sort of like lovers, Elvers. We're gonna go with lovers. So let us have a spray. We also have a press release for this one. Should be good. Okay, here we go. First of 5 for today. Oh, Rachel says we were in the Louis Vuitton store yesterday. Did you get anything, or did you just? I don't have a lot of time, but I mean, okay, I'm never going to be the sort of person who can afford Louis Vuitton products anyway. Maybe some of the perfumes, but I think even if I had that sort of money, I'm not crazy about logos, and a brand that has really sold itself on the strength of that logo, you know, plastering that logo all over the luggage, all over a lot of the clothes. It really doesn't do it for me. But clearly it does do it for a lot of people. Okay, here we go. Now, I am not coming to this completely fresh, completely, you know, a total newbie to this scent, because I actually wore it for about half a day the other day. Oh, Rachel says we did not get anything. No, you surprised me, Rachel. Oh, and Woozy says, for everyone who may not be aware, Pharrell is the current creative director of Louis Vuitton. Thank you very much. And yes, amongst the fashion community, the decision to appoint him was also laughed at. Or I'll put that to one side. What do we get? What we actually get when we smell livers for the first time is something quite strange. I was a little bit perplexed by this. So what it isn't an immediate write-off type scent. It isn't an immediate fruity floral or a fruity patchouli or an immediate woody amber, faux freshy dihydromercenol masculine. It's stranger than that. It's what I'm getting when I smell it is something that is tending towards the sort of solar accords that we've had in a lot of perfumes recently. So there's something bright about it, but it doesn't immediately present itself as an obvious citrus note. You know, no obvious lemon or grapefruit or anything like that. And also a kind of tea-inflected leathery note, a sort of rubbery tea-inflected leathery note that reminded me very much of Annick Menado's Bulgari Black, long discontinued, much missed. And then also maybe shades of the kind of silvery, metallic, strange, crystalline mimosa quality that I remember from a few years ago from Tom Ford's Metallique. Also, I thought a bit of an underrated scent, that one. So actually what you get here is something unexpectedly abstract. It's quite difficult to kind of pin down specific notes, specific materials, and a strange sort of effect, because it does seem as though it's quite illuminated and luminous, but there is also something quite skin touching and skin caressing about it, with that unexpected kind of rubbery, leathery note. Eric says Metallique is also discontinued. Yeah, there's so many Tom Ford scents. NEA says, wow, this is hard. Listening, watching Persolaise, and also checking out the comments. How do you do it, lol? Well, the main thing is don't stress about it. Just enjoy watching it. Maybe kind of, you know, like listen to me for a few seconds, and then the people in the comments are usually much more coherent and saying far more interesting things. Oh, Esumar, I love the fact that your autocorrect has changed your comment into what would be a good Bulgarian black replacement. We know what you mean. Okay, Parth says, I don't know what kind of synthetics they use there at Louis Vuitton, but their perfumes have a strange sort of lift and vibrance, probably some kind of transparent aldehydes. And then Parth says, luminous, that's the word. There is something very definitely luminous about this. David says, they claim that this one was a collaboration between Cavalier and his daughter Camille. I'd like to know how much of Camille is actually in that formula. Okay, so while this is doing its thing, this isn't an immediate write-off, by the way. I know that a lot of you out there feel that a lot of the Louis Vuitton scents, the current Louis Vuitton scents, are sort of immediate, instant write-offs, partly because of their price. I agree with you to a certain extent, although I think in the range there are some good ones out there. But there's something curious going on here. Okay, so let's see what the brand itself has to say about it. The scent of the sun is a sensation, it starts. Soothing and strengthening, it is an extract of energy, a perfume of opportunity and enhancement. In his first involvement in a fragrance project for Louis Vuitton, Pharrell Williams asked Jacques Cavalier-Beltrude to capture the light, which is the essence of lovers, into a highly crafted men's fragrance for a global community collectively uplifted by the warmth that radiates from the sun. Well, I'm glad they say global community, but that's because that's kind of all of us, isn't it? Collectively uplifted by the warmth. I suppose it excludes people in Scotland. Lovers was conceived through a creative dialogue between Pharrell Williams and Jacques Cavalier and crafted in the Louis Vuitton creative atelier at Les Fontaines Parfumées in Grasse, etc., etc. For this new collaborative opus, the master perfumer kept a cross-generational approach at heart, involving in the creative process Camille Cavalier-Beltrud, a perfumer at Louis Vuitton and a member of the creative studio, who was trained at the Maison under the mentorship of the master perfumer for many years, cultivating the DNA of the house. Okay, tell us a little bit, something a bit more concrete. Founded in the men's creative director's philosophy of sunlight as a metaphor for love and a source of life and motivation across human experiences, it echoes the question posed upon his arrival, this must be Pharrell's arrival at Louis Vuitton, what will you do when the sun shines on you? I think if you're in the UK, you will do absolutely everything you can to stay in it. Everything else gets forgotten. I mean, we haven't had much of a summer here. Distilled into Eau de Parfum, the original idea has to take new form. Jacques Cavalier says the theme of sunlight that lit up Pharrell's debut show on the Pont Neuf in June 2023 inspired us to convey photosynthesis in scent. Okay, interesting. It may sound abstract, he says, but if you look at life, photosynthesis is the starting point for everything. Well, that doesn't make it any less abstract, does it? Please tell us actually something about what might be in it. I'm carrying on for a bit. Lovers conveys in fragrance the figurative yet familiar scent of the sun illumining the skin, energizing the vitality of nature, and giving life to the organisms that surround us. With olfactive alchemy, the master perfumer transforms the abstract scent of sunlight into earthly matter. I'm going to skip these bits because I want to get onto something a bit more concrete. The Maison's expert identified the notes that emanate from nature as a result of the vitalizing power of light, the luxuriance of leaves caressed by rays, the evaporating nectar of freshly grown grass, the warm earthiness of tree trunks expanding under the forest sun. Within the study, pure and ancient natural substances are unearthed. Okay, I think this is when we start getting into the nitty-gritty now. Galbanum, the mythical resin of the ferula plant, rarely used in modern-day fragrances, really, is revitalized and refined from its wild vegetal state. Like a diamond in the rough, the centuries-old scent is cultivated into delicate green notes, creating the sappy and spicy core of the lover's bouquet. Yes, but although this isn't a galbanum bomb, I keep going back to sort of saying that this is actually a fairly, in an old-fashioned sense, a kind of abstract composition. There is a greenness to it at the start, for sure. It is grounded in the bottom note of cedarwood, extracted from second-hand wood from carpentry. The oil's deep woody sensibility establishes the indefinable but recognizable olfactic. Have we had olfactic coined as a word before? Sensation universally associated with the forest basil. I've just seen your comment. I'm not reading it out. Harmonized with the creaminess of sandalwood, it sets an earthy but elegant tone for the fragrance, energized by the clean crispness of ginger. The composition, stop it with the bottom notes now. You have to love these press releases, don't you? Where were we? Harmonized with the creaminess of sandalwood, it sets an earthy but elegant tone for the fragrance, energized by the clean crispness of ginger. The composition is raised by the fruity, zesty top notes of bergamot, gently announcing the galbanum in a figurative illustration of the early rays of sunrise. Echoing the therapeutic force of the sun, each of the lover's ingredients is rooted in age-old cultural practices connected to notions of healing. This is very Joseph Quatana now, isn't it? In ancient Greece, galbanum was employed as a curative remedy, while in ancient Egypt, cedarwood oil was used as a means of preservation and to ward off evil spirits. In Eastern medicine, sandalwood is a key component alongside ginger, widely known for its health benefits. Across cultures, bergamot has been considered a tool for both mental and physical renewal, etc., and so on and so forth. And then I think it just goes on a little bit about the logo that they're clearly proud of because it is all over the press release. Oriana's back with our Devil Wears Prada, our obligatory Devil Wears Prada reference, galbanum for supper. It probably would be groundbreaking if you had it for supper, but no, this is galbanum for summer, groundbreaking. Noah says, Jesus, is this a novel they wrote? Well, you know, we got to the main parts in the end. What are you all saying? Tripty says Louis Vuitton has got to be in the top 3 overrated brands for all products. Oof, harsh. Woozy says worth noting that the release doesn't describe the sandalwood as a natural or upcycled, so probably Javanol, Ebanol, ha ha ha. Sharon says Louis Vuitton's comment about galbanum being rarely used deserves a little side eye from me. But having said all of that, I think it's interesting. Let's go to the pre-sprayed lovers. What remains, I guess, is this kind of woody. I guess they wouldn't want to mention a sort of leatheriness, but if you imagine the leatheriness of Bulgari Black, which had this kind of cedar, tea-like, slightly rubbery quality to it, but there isn't a sort of sense of overly synthetic sandalwoods. There isn't actually a sense of anything being particularly overdosed, which is why I'm really, really curious to find out how this is going to do, because I think modern tastes, mainstream perfumery tastes, want at least 1 or 2 notes to stand out and be really, really obvious, things that you can kind of latch onto and recognize and pick out. This honestly doesn't do that. What you get is this kind of haze of green woodiness with this sort of suede-like rubbery leatheriness hovering in the background. And I think it's kind of interesting, actually, but I'm sure it's shockingly expensive. Yes, it is. So this has been available apparently since mid-June, and for 100 mils, you have to part company with 280 euros. Pradeep says next release, Friends. Probably, yeah. And Tanzo says seeing Persolaise grimace at press releases live in real time is wonderful. Do you get an extra frisson because you know I'm doing it right now while you're watching it? I think it's interesting, but it really, really doesn't need to be in that kind of price bracket. Anyway, okay, let us move on. So we've started. Let us now go to something else, which is kind of newish. It's been around for a little while, but from an equally high-profile brand. This is the latest from Gucci's Alchemist's Garden, although I'm pretty sure it's the latest. And it's composed by, I will let you know in one moment who it's composed by, because I just can't remember right now. That's it. It's Amandine Clark Marie, and this is called The Heart of Leo. So there you go, Gucci. The kind of retro apothecary quality of these Alchemist's Garden bottles from Gucci, I must confess, I do really, really like. I think it's a pretty bottle at a time when we don't have enough pretty bottles out there. I do love the bottles, says Big Miss Cabbage. Yes, so do I. I love the decoration of them. But the range itself, it is kind of a little bit hit and miss, isn't it? Perfect as we are soon in Leo season, says Noah. Yes, good point. Good point. I'd forgotten that. There are some here. I think some of the frankincense ones I really like. This was a range, a kind of exclusive. Oh, check out the lion on the cap. I don't think we normally get that in the Alchemist's Garden, do we? There was a frankincense one. Sorry, I was going to say that this range was originally done by Alberto Marias, but I don't think he is the kind of exclusive nose for the range anymore. One or two of the ouds I think were interesting. There were some good florals there, but overall there are just so many in that collection that you can almost picture the perfumer sort of working overtime to tick all of the boxes and go, yes, we need a rose, yes, we need a, I don't know, a patchouli, we need a jasmine, let's get them all out there. I've sprayed this. What do we get here? Woozy says Midnight Stroll was intriguing but overpriced. ALO says I dig the bottle too. Niche has gone very minimalist, but I like a treat for the eyes and the nose. And Rachel says I didn't realize they were still making new fragrances for this line. Oh yeah, it's still, apparently it does well. Okay, let's have a sniff. Yes, because I did the pre-sprayed blotters about, what time is it now? About 3 hours ago, 2.5 hours ago. And obviously I don't kind of put a clothes peg on my nose to stop myself from smelling this stuff. And the initial whiff that I got made me think, ooh, is this a kind of Gucci version of La Petite Robe Noire, but with a more marked kind of mineralic frankincense-y note? And that's what I get to start with. So I get sort of blackberry, black cherry, black currant. To put it another way, fruitiness that has got some sweetness to it, but probably an equal measure of tartness as well. So not sickly fruit, and a fairly convincing sort of fruit note, actually, it has to be said. So well-handled synthetics there. But then you get into a sort of cedary, frankincense-y heart. So it's which is not a usual combo, I don't think. Frankincense with fruitiness. So you're getting something kind of meditative and quite serious and quite ethereal and spiritual, with something a little bit sassy and feisty and a bit insouciant and juvenile. And maybe that's meant to be the heart of Leo. I don't know. Well, I mean, what are the character? I know very, very, very little about astrology. What are the characteristics of a Leo? I know that Leos are meant to be fiery and tempestuous, but they're also supposed to be quite strong and authoritative, aren't they? I don't know. Somebody tell me. Rachel says, there is so much going on in the fragrance world to keep up on. Yes, well, and you say this is why I'm essential viewing. Goodness me, I can't keep up with everything. I think it's through the endless dialogue with each other that we eventually get to know about the things that we need to know about. Eric says, I'm surprised they aren't rebottling these since Alessandro Michele is gone. Gucci has been radically altered, not judgment, just stating. You may know more about that. So, I mean, I knew that Michele had gone, but I wasn't kind of aware of the overall rebranding. Madonna is a Leo, says Michelle. Yes, I know. I wasn't going to mention it, but I'm glad that one of you did. Yes, yeah, her birthday is Assumption, isn't it? I am a Leo, and that's not me at all, says Space Dad. Okay, fair enough. Aiello says bold and enjoys attention. Leos are all about Leos. Noah says Leos are very intense and love attention and know how to get it. Okay, well, this has got that kind of quality to it. I don't have a press release. I mean, I have to say, it's attractive when you smell it just on paper like this. That kind of combo of the fruitiness with the mineralic quality of the incense is attractive. I haven't got a press release as such, but I can share a little bit of a blurb with you. This is another scent that is not cheap, but then this the Alchemist's Garden collection is not cheap. This in the UK will set you back £240 for 100 mils. What do they say about it? The heart of Leo Eau de Parfum highlights the lion's power and elegance, blending sweet and acidic notes. Okay, interesting they say acidic. In this scent, the nobility and strength of the creature combine resinous myrrh and the smoky profile of incense with an exhilarating black currant accord, they say. The result is an enduring, fruity and ambery trail, as powerful as the animal it represents. Main ingredients, according to them, sweet and acidic blackcurrant accord at the top, smoky olibanum extract at the heart, and resinous myrrh essential oil at the base. Blackcurrant brings a fruity red fruit scent to the fragrance, like a concentrated syrup. It offers an unctuous blackcurrant elixir infused with sweet and acidulous tones. I would agree with that. Olibanum brings a balsamic, spicy, sweet, woody, and warm scent to the fragrance. Sensual and rich, the note is typically ambery. Really? I don't think we'd say that olibanum is ambery. Anyway, it also has lemon, fresh, and green facets, agreed by its spiciness and resinous character. Sweet, ambery, and balsamic myrrh reveals licorice and smoky undertones. Its odor is warm, spicy, often showing a very peculiar, sharp balsamic scent. And I think that is a good point at which to go to the pre-sprayed blotter. Where is my pre-sprayed Gucci? Here we go. Rachel says, Mr. P, between these first two, which one would you buy where? Well, I would buy neither, because I don't think either of them would justify that kind of price tag, for me personally. I'm not getting the kind of mushroomy, fungal, balsamic aspect, the quality that you would expect from myrrh, the quality that I always associate with Pierre Guillaume Muriad, one of my favorite myrrh perfumes. It's still doing that kind of fruity, frankincense-y thing. And also, it has to be said, the Olibanum is not like a kind of, Comme des Garçons photo real Olibanum. This really is about a kind of contrast between sweet, acidic fruitiness and mineralic tones, notes, with, I suppose, the citrusy quality, the tart quality of the frankincense tying in with the fruitiness. Do you get the licorice, says ILO? Not particularly. Maybe it's the kind of thing that might come out more strongly on skin. It's very, very, very pretty. It's very attractive. I think what's interesting in terms of character, in terms of personality, is its presentation of something that, I go back to this word sassy again. The sassiness that is there. It's almost like a kind of lipstick sassiness. Somehow, I think that fruity note brings out a kind of lipsticky quality. That, with the sort of more timeless wisdom of the mineralic aspects, is curious. It's like it's a sort of old soul that also knows how to party and let his or her hair down. But I also can't shake off that La Petite Robe Noire association. La Petite Robe Noire is all sass and all fun. This is a kind of old soul La Petite Robe Noire. Charity shop Petite Robe Noire. Which sounds a lot more disparaging than I meant it to be. What are you folks saying about it? Tracy says, oh, this sounds expensively up my street. Ah, interesting. I love a red fruit, as in Comme des Garçons play red. And of course, many incenses need to find something more realistic price-wise. Rachel says, Pierre Guillaume's myrrh is lovely. Sassy Leo says, Mitra Kai. What does balsamic mean, says RN, like balsamic vinegar? Probably a little bit too complicated to get into now, but if you just go onto the internet and search for differences between balsamic and resinous in perfumery, you'll probably get the answer that you seek. We usually talk about balsamic notes in perfumery in kind of opposition to resinous notes. So do a little bit of a search and you will find out. Dave NYC, thank you very much, says balsams are sap from trees, not sure how to describe the smell. Trust me, you will find something. I think there's a really, really good perfume shrine post that describes the differences really, really well. There you go. Basil says, thanks, Mr. P. I always wondered about the term balsamic. Okay, we are halfway through the time, which means we need to do one more. Let's do this one. Let me go to my page here. This is a brand that we really, really don't talk about very much on this channel, and I call it Memo. I think we're supposed to say Memo, as in Memo Paris. Founded a few years ago and has been doing really well. And from a few months ago, this is their Cassiopeia Rose. Madame Persolaise likes these bottles. I'm not sure. Because the bottles are standard bottles and each one has kind of got a different image on the front. I mean, I guess I like the fact that they're quite decorative, but they don't entirely do it for me. I prefer this sort of bottle. But anyway, this is in their sort of sub-range that they call the Étoile Filante, which I believe means shooting stars. Hate these bottles, says Big Miss Capit. Oh dear. Okay, well, try not to look. I think this is the third in the Étoile Filante. Dave says, Memo has some nice releases, but yes, some amber woody bombs as well. I would be inclined to agree. There are some that I've enjoyed, but it's another brand that I found it difficult to sort of keep up with. And I have reviewed a few over the years. If you go over to persolaise.com, you should find some reviews of past ones. David says, I like Memo for the most part. French Leather, Marfa, and Inverness being among some of my high likes. I think there was one, was there an I'm thinking of an Arctic tiger or something like that. I remember that being quite impressive because it really conveyed, or no, or maybe it was a Himalayan tiger. It was something along those lines. It was something to do with very, very cold, snowy tiger's nest. Okay. We got there in the end. Thank you very much, Dave. Tiger's Nest. That was interesting, and I think I reviewed this one. Anyway, this is Cassiopeia Rose. Close enough, says that. Yeah, well, kind of. But you at least you got the one I meant, right? Let's do a little bit of rearranging here. This is really pretty much a kind of rose soliflor. But I am a bit of a sucker for rose soliflors, especially if they're done well. Let's smell. Okay, now there are lots and lots of ways of doing rose soliflors, right? Because of course there are lots and lots of roses. So this is recognizably rose, which is a good start. But what you get here is a touch of pepperiness, but not a lot of kind of dark honeyed duskiness. So it's sort of peppery, powdery, dark pink rather than kind of juvenile Pink Panther pink, but not kind of deep crimson. Touch of citrus, of course, which is what you'd want from a rose. Touch of greenness, but nothing overemphasized. It's very pleasant. Pleasant seems to be the order of the day. You know, so far these three are not ones for which I would forsake my soul, but they're very well done. I don't know who the perfumer is for this one. This brand are normally pretty good at revealing the identity of their perfumers. A lot of their perfumes have been done by Aliénor Massenet, but not all of them. So that doesn't mean that this one is necessarily done by her as well. Any jamminess, says Rachel. Maybe just the lightest touch of something raspberry-ish happening there. Is it a tea rose, says David? I wouldn't have said tea per se. It's kind of veering more towards powderiness, softness, peppery powderiness, if you can imagine such a thing. I'm not sure what the Cassiopeia constellation is meant to represent. Let's look at it. And it's very, very nicely done. It is the kind of thing, I mean, I will very, very happily gift this bottle to Madame Persolaise because I love smelling rosy scents on her. But I would also imagine that it's the kind of thing that she will say she can't smell on herself after about half an hour, because it strikes me as the kind of thing that would have that kind of fading into the background personality fairly quickly. What can I tell you about it? No, that is not the page I want. Neither is that. Here we go. Not a huge amount to tell you about it. This fragrance gives center stage to the most sumptuous roses. Like a gift from the deities, they come together in perfect harmony, enhanced by a duo of, here we go again, frankincense and vanilla, of pink pepper and benzoin. The love for this splendid flower, which flourishes in the fragrance's heart, is spoken to the heavens, as high as Cassiopeia shines with style and intensity. This single fragrance has two queens. The rose, queen of the flowers and of the perfumer, is an invisible muse that here meets Cassiopeia, the Ethiopian queen of Greek mythology, whose name graces the most remarkable constellation in the Milky Way. The bottle is adorned with her image, distinguished by her flowing hair, the symbol of her beauty, okay, great, which she displays proudly. The rose also knows its own power, and it generously shares its finest notes, a sovereign flower to give body and soul to an enchanting fragrance. And this one, by the way, is exclusive to Selfridges London, to one of the brand's boutiques in Paris, and also online. But is that all we know about it? So they say that the main notes are olibanum, a rose absolute, and vanilla. And they also go on to mention a CO2 pink pepper extract, tonka bean, benzoin, ambro fix, and musk. And it is kind of as sort of simple as that description makes it sound. How intense is it, says Noah? Not very. It's actually not intense at all. Let's go to the pre-sprayed one. Where is my pre-sprayed memo? Ah, yes, Ambro fix again, says Space Stat, but not overdone, mind you. I've smelt this one. So this was done about 2.5 hours ago. Let's see. Is it anything like Amouage Rose Incense then, says David? Very, very, very good question. Thank you. No, that is more rosy and more jammy and stickier and bigger and grander and bolder. No, I mean, that one is so much more Amouage, right? It's not really, it's not really like that. Pretty linear, basically stayed the same. The woody ambers are gently handled, not overdone at all, which means that I can take them. I'm not frowning. This is again very, very pleasant and probably totally forgettable. And again, for 75 mils here of EDP, you have to pay £235. I mean, these prices are shocking. By the way, did anybody see the news the other day of one of the big fragrance manufacturing companies? I kind of reposted it on an Instagram story. One of the big companies being fined for deleting WhatsApp messages in relation to possible price fixing. There are sort of rumbles about how the price fixing investigation is going to reveal something. And apparently there was a price fixing scandal several years ago. So, and a few people have said that the industry is, overdue. And of course, that's meant Riley, another one. So yeah, let's see what happens. Ricardo says, I'm only familiar with the Cuir Nomade collection, all suede like leather. Sharon says, Rachel says, Sharon, exactly, quite a polite brand. What did Sharon say? Memo has many office-appropriate scents, polite, non-offensive. I know, but it's a lot of money to pay for an office-appropriate scent, isn't it? Barbara says, I have to try this one. I must say that I can't get along with any rose, not from Memo. Lalibela gives me a huge headache, and the mix has a strange effect. French leather is too simple rose water for me. Interesting. Woozy Amouage have also recently seen a sharp price increases. Now 600 Australian dollars here. I have no idea how much that is, but no, Amouage ain't cheap. But then Amouage have never been cheap, really, have they? Eric says, I remember when a headquarters was raided by law enforcement, or did I dream that? I don't know. I don't know. May have happened. Anyway, it's perfectly pleasant, nicely done. I would never spend £235 on it. Okay, and now let's go on to our final two for the day, from two genuinely independent brands, or at least brands that are still independent. I suspect both of them will stay independent for a while. First is a brand that we haven't had an opportunity to talk about here for a while. I am trying to get the brand founder and creative director on for an interview here. I have been trying to get him for an interview for a little while. He's playing hard to get. The person in question is Carlos Huber of the brand Arquiste. And their latest, I've got a little vial. I think it just came out very, very recently. There you go, tiny little vial. This is another one of the ones done by Rodrigo Flores Roux, the one and only, the legendary Rodrigo Flores Roux. He should come back on this channel as well. And this is called, the name is a bit of a mouthful. It's called A Grove by the Sea. I always think those sorts of long perfume names are potentially asking for a little bit of trouble. What are you wearing? A grove by the sea. Yes, the whole grove. I have got the entire grove upon my person. But I think this highlights the sort of modus operandi of Arquiste, in that Carlos Huber has kept to the original sort of conception of the brand, in that every single perfume is inspired by a very, very specific point in time at a very specific place, a specific geographic location, and then he researches the time and the place to death, and then weaves a perfume brief out of that, which he then passes on to the likes of Rodrigo Flores Roux, Jan Vanier, and more recently also Calice Becker. Now, I have this one. There are a few more coming from Arquiste this year, and I hope I'm permitted to say that one of them, I've had a sneak preview of it, is properly, genuinely exciting. It's the kind of Arquiste perfume that pushes my buttons, and there have been a few in the past that have really, really pushed my buttons very, very, very effectively. Anima Dulcis being one of them. Apparently that's been reformulated, so hang on to your original Anima Dulcis. It's been reissued. I haven't smelt the reissue. Nanban I was fond of. I really, really liked the duo of Elle and Aya, or Ella, in other words. Then there are some that I kind of didn't have as much time for, but I guess that's how it goes. When your brand grows and you do lots of different things and you have to cater to lots of different tastes, you're not always going to please the likes of little old me. And A Grove by the Sea is, I think, very much setting out its stall as a kind of summer scent. I believe it was inspired by a trip that Carlos Huber took, I think I'm going to say, to Croatia. And what we're getting when we're smelling it here is lots of figgy greenness, a kind of fig leaf feel, and the woodiness of fig as well. And fig notes are tough in perfumery, I think, because they can very, very, very quickly and very easily become quite overwhelming and bring a sort of kind of borderline off-putting metallic quality to scents. But I guess you need somebody with the skills and experience of expertise of Rodrigo Flores Roux to keep the fig on the right side of that of that dividing line. You want a little bit of strangeness because you don't want the scent to be easily dismissible and, again, just like sort of forgettably pleasant. Rodrigo himself, I think, on this channel and in other interviews has talked about how he always tries to put something in the perfume that is the equivalent of the tiny little stone in the shoe, the kind of thing that isn't serious enough to actually make you stop walking and make you have to take your shoe off and get rid of the stone, but is present enough for you to keep being reminded of its presence. And the best perfumes have got that kind of slight odd twist to them, that little bit of a kink that makes you go, what is that? What's that doing? So that you keep thinking about them, so that you keep being challenged by them and keep being reminded of them, as opposed to, for example, something like Cassiopeia Rose that within 2 minutes will just make you go, oh, that's a very pleasant rose, and you forget about it. What are you folks saying? Sophie Art says, love Arquiste and Rodrigo Flores Roux. I'm not sure that I'm terribly excited about this release. They've already done aromatics, Letrog and Letrog Aqua. Was hoping for something new. Yeah, but this is greener than Letrog, okay, and it's got a kind of marine quality to it that Letrog didn't necessarily have. Rachel says, Mr. P, you should check out Jan Vanier and Carlos's new fragrance called By Matthew. I know the one you mean. I think it's Zinc. That's from the sort of men's wear brand. Was it an underwear brand? I don't think we can get that in the UK. I understand it's a very, very interesting incense composition. I would love to be able to smell it, but I don't think it's available this side of the pond. Sophie Ard says, I have Anima Dulcis, and do I need a backup of the original? I think the answer to that question is yes. But mind you, hang on, I say that not having smelt the current version. I mean, again, if you're talking about Rodrigo, nobody's going to be able to to do as a reformulation like he would, but clearly it's going to be slightly different, right? Boutonnier number 7, thank you very much for mentioning that one as well. That was beautiful, beautiful gardenia scent. Alex says, a little bit of strangeness makes the difference in perfumes. Absolutely. So you get this kind of, you get a very, very convincing sense of outdoorsiness. You get a very convincing sense of, staying somewhere beautiful, in Europe, and you step out onto your balcony and you see this gorgeous sea below you. You see the sun, you feel the warmth of the sun. You get wild fig trees. There is a kind of wildness to it as well that I think is very, very convincing. A saltiness in the air, maybe a touch of earthiness. It's kind of rugged, but not too rugged to put off Monsieur Persolaise from going off on a bit of a trek. As far as these sorts of summery, in inverted commas, light outdoorsy scents go, it is extremely well done. I mean, we would expect nothing less from Rodrigo, right? What does the brand say about it? Picture a sunny island in the Adriatic, a small harbour with stone houses and fig and olive groves, surrounded by verdant hills of Mediterranean pine trees, strings of cypress and wild herbs throughout. Actually, the herbs is worth mentioning as well, because there is something really, really convincingly herbally aromatic about it. A window into an evergreen aromatic landscape of Adriatic fig, dried pine needles, wild rosemary, thyme, and the subtle nutty scent of olive oil. But of course, being an Arquiste release, it goes on a little bit deeper. The time is meant to be August 1508, Lopud Island in the Adriatic Sea. Lopud is an evergreen island with lush fig and olive groves by the sea. From the port, dotted with a Renaissance stone villas, the scent of fig and crushed olives is so strong but the salty sea breeze carries it beyond towards forests of Mediterranean pine and cypress. Above, ancient chapels overlooking the harbour like sentinels are overgrown with wild thyme, fennel, and rosemary. The whole landscape, an aromatic paradise of green fig, dried pine needles, wild herbs, and the subtle nutty scent of olive oil. And so what do we have? We have the fig leaves, black olive, a fleur de sel accord, Croatian clementine, apparently, extra virgin olive oil accord. I mean, I must admit, I didn't particularly get olive oil, but okay, doesn't mean it's not there. Fig fruit, thyme essence, rosemary essence, fir balsam, Mediterranean cypress, and red clay in the base notes. And then I love the fact that on the website, there's a tab called More Research, where you can actually find out a bit more about the island. And then you also even get a bibliography, go Carlos, which includes books such as Chris Wallace's A Venetian's Retreat, Toto Bergamo Rossi's Home in Croatia, Nenad Vekaric's The Population of the Dubrovnik Republic in the 15th, 16th, and 17th centuries. Pardon me. I wonder why it had to be that specific date, though. We need to find out. Mauro Orbini's Il Regno degli Slavi oggi corrottamente detti Schiavoni from 1601, and so on. As well as also Roy Genders' Perfume Through the Ages and Nigel Groom's The New Perfume Handbook. So a well done release. Your Italian is top, says, oh, please. I have no idea what I said. But the one that I'm really, really excited for is, I think, going to be the next release. We've got at least 2 more, I think, coming this year. So yeah, let's hold our horses, because I think we've got proper Arquiste-ness coming our way. Oh, hang on, pre-sprayed Arquiste. Pine-like, slightly camphoraceous, herbal, nicely done, touch of green still there, still very outdoorsy. You kind of feel as though the sun is beginning to set, suitably aromatic, the kind of thing that lots and lots of people will absolutely love to wear over the summer months. Nicely done piece of work. Okay, and finally, last but not least, we are definitely a fan of this brand. This is brand new from Les Indemodables, and it's their Orange Sirocco, of course, composed by Antoine Lee, as are all of their scents at the moment. And they also sent me, as part of the press kit, a little bit of an orange blossom absolute from Morocco, and an ingredient that is very, very special apparently in this release, a royal cinnamon extract from Laos. Shall we do the cinnamon first? Was this also from 1503, says RN? Which one? Let's do the cinnamon. Let's do the cinnamon. Gichunk says, by the way, I'm really sorry if I'm mispronouncing your handle name. I think that Les Indemodables scents are high-class, authentic, and complex without being difficult. I would tend to agree. Barbara says, can't wait to hear your thoughts on this one. I'm such a big fan. What, of the brand or of this scent? Antoine is one of my favorite perfumers, says Noah. Lots of cinnamon, apparently, says Dave NYC. Okay, this is just the cinnamon. It's cinnamon is a curious scent, isn't it? Because it's a bit of a phantom scent, because you get a whiff of it and then it disappears, and it's kind of sweet, spicy, peppery, spicy, bitter, spicy. It's got that bark-like quality to it. Nice material, though. Really, really nice material. Okay, I couldn't wait before smelling this one, okay? And my sample of this, I think, arrived yesterday or 2 days ago. No, I think it was Friday, 2 days ago. And I had to have a spray straight away, because anything new from this brand is worth trying immediately. By the way, what do you reckon? Should we get Remy back on to talk about this one, maybe in September or October? What do we think? He's, of course, very, very kindly given up a lot of his time for our masterclass series. Oriana says yes, with 2 exclamation marks. Okay, so this is the Orange Sirocco. So the Sirocco is this wind that sort of blows towards the southern Europe, Mediterranean Europe from North Africa, and Orange is I think orange blossom, isn't it? And now we're transported. Okay, so what are we getting? What are we getting? Blue says, I'm currently saving up for the Iris Perle from them. I love that one. I love their iris so much. So what we get is the kind of indolic quality of the orange blossom coming through. I think what's fascinating about orange blossom as a material is that it's unquestionably got kind of beautiful, slightly sweet floral note. You can sort of recognize and tell that it's come from a flower. It's got that kind of slight citrusiness that makes you realize it's come from a citrus fruit. But to me, it's also got that dryness. The indolic quality is so dry, that kind of mothbally quality, almost like catches you in the back of the throat dryness, that just makes it super, super, super fascinating. It's the cinnamon, I think, comes through as well on paper. It really contributes to the dryness somehow. There's almost something that I would say is kind of chocolatey feel. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a fair amount of patchouli here. But I think what's interesting, and I thought this 2 days ago when I first smelt it, is that they haven't gone for an orange blossom that's immediately and overtly romantic. This kind of makes you think of the kind of stripping quality of the wind, the eroding quality of the wind. This is a sort of battle with the element. You know, if you stand in the way of this wind, you need to stand your ground very, very firmly, and you need to be quite strong and authoritative, because it could have the power to obliterate you. And I think that's what comes across in this scent. It's strong. It's maybe the kind of scent, to go back to my X-Men video from a few weeks ago. This is the kind of thing that Storm would wear, because this isn't a pleasant, gentle breeze. This is a kind of if you're going to fight me, you'd better be pretty sure you can win type of wind. I think I'm right in saying that in North Africa, sometimes the Sirocco actually turns into a wind of hurricane proportions. It is really, really interesting. Is this a fall-winter scent, says Tripty? Oh, I think that's up to you. I think that's up to you. I should imagine it would work very well in all seasons. I think maybe somewhat, at least on paper, somewhat less faceted, nuanced than some of the brand's other scents. Maybe it's kind of all about the dry down, because I know Antoine Lee does like his sort of big dry down notes. What else can I tell you about it? I've got a little booklet. This graphic actually does kind of sum up the scent pretty well. You know, that's a dramatic. You know, are you looking at it from the point of view of a cave? Have you taken shelter in the cave, or are you going to be cast out into the dunes? What do they say? Orange Sirocco was born out of a desire to imagine an olfactory landmark, a sensory compass that is both bright, joyful, and reassuring. From the first notes, the mind is carried away by a warm, shimmering wind of sand on the other side of the Mediterranean. I would say it's more than warm. I would say it's like fiery hot. In the heart of an orange grove, with closed eyes, scents and sounds intertwine, the powerful and intoxicating fragrance of orange blossom, echoing the distant hustle and bustle of a souk, where the aroma of spices mixes in waves, saturating the regular breath of the Sirocco. Antoine Lee, master perfumer, says this creation consists of mnemonic and familiar ingredients to our olfactory memory, particularly orange blossom and cinnamon. The use for the first time of an exceptionally refined extract of royal cinnamon from Laos, specially developed by the Atelier Français de Matière, contributes to this perception of radiance and sensuality. And that is pretty much all they say, except to tell us that it contains 3% of Moroccan orange blossom absolute. Well, we don't, is that 3% in the final product or 3%? I would imagine that's is it 3% of 100%? Never mind. This is what they say: 2.4% of a Moroccan petit grain oil and 0.6% of a Grand Cru Royal Cinnamon Laos extract. What are you folks saying? Great graphic, love the concept, says Dave. Yeah, it is a good graphic, isn't it? Is it like Au Cœur du Désert with citrus, says Oriana from Tower? No, that's more ambery, isn't it? Whereas this is definitely about the orange blossom. Wow, that's a short description, says Noah. I know, short and sweet, right? They didn't need to make it any longer. Antoine Lee says, Geek Chunk is one of my favorite composers. I recently got Delta of Venus because of you, by the way. I'm so pleased. That's a good one too. Delta of Venus is really good as well. And let's do pre-sprayed Les Indemodables. I think this is actually, Antoine, maybe in more linear mode. I mean, that's kind of been the story of all of these 5. There's something, I wouldn't be surprised if there's sort of his trademark amberiness in the base, but that orange blossom has been sustained all the way through, with just that slight bit of roughness. This is orange blossom with a stubble, and I think that's what makes it interesting. That's what makes it fascinating. Nice work. Okay, we're done for today. That went really, really quickly, or at least it did for me. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do consider doing so. If you've enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. It really, really helps with the old YouTube algorithm if you give it a thumbs up. If you would like to find out how you can support my work, you should be able to find a link to my Ko-fi page in the video description below. And I should also say, if you have subscribed to the channel, you may also want to click on the little bell so that you get notifications of new videos coming your way. In the meantime, stay tuned to social media for details of when I will be doing my next video or videos. Until then, thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much for all the comments and the questions, and I will see you soon. Until then, be good, but not too good. Bye now.